It's time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
And it does on a Thursday. Good to have you with us. Thank you, Chad Erickson. Lots to do over the next 60 minutes, including Robert Littal of Black Sports Online. He'll hang out and talk about the top stories of the week with us. Play in the sandbox, as we like to say. Nick Ferguson swings by. What does he make of Deion and Deion Sanders clapping back at a former Colorado Buffaloes player / recruit? You know what I think of it before I even open my mouth and talk about it. We'll get into that. Also, we're going to have Nick Ferguson on with Sam Yarnell for the first time, because Sam yesterday had some very interesting comments. At the very end of the show, he had to slip in a little jabby jab on the Denver Broncos. So we'll get to that as well. But we start things today in the NBA with the aforementioned Sam Yarnell, who hangs out with us on the program. Put 'em up! Put up your dukes! There wasn't much fighting last night.
Nick.
There wasn't much
ready for Nick Ferguson.
Wasn't much fight in the Heat. Looks like Rock'em Sock'em. Wasn't much fight in the Heat and Clippers last night, both of which got their doors blown off. If last week's Knicks Sixers, what was the other game? They said it was the best doubleheader in the history of TNT for playoff basketball, best doubleheader ever. If that was the best one ever, last night might have been the worst one ever, because you had two 30-point routes on the game's biggest stage, the NBA playoffs. And look, with the Heat, it's not shocking. I told all of you when they won game 2 of that series that what they did in that game was not sustainable. You cannot simply go out and hit 23 threes in more than one game. So it wasn't much of a strategy, but they got a game in the series, which is probably more than I think most people thought they would get, minus Jimmy Butler. So the Celtics move on. They'll be able to get some rest now. And the big question for them going forward is what is going to happen with Kristaps Porzingis, who has an injury that is very similar, if not exactly the same, to the one that Giannis Antetokounmpo is suffering from. And we haven't seen him for a while. So pump the brakes if you got those Celtics tickets in to come out of the East, because without Porzingis, it's going to be tougher as they get through these later rounds. And I will tell you this. If Orlando somehow manages to come out of that Cavaliers series, that is a very tough series for the Celtics, because Orlando's got tons of size. They've got size for days. They've got bigs on top of bigs on top of bigs. And that could give some trouble to the Celtics, especially without Porzingis.
And they play great defense, Jason. Don't forget about that, which has been one of the Celtics' biggest, fears this whole season, has been when they play that really lockdown defensive team and their offense can't get out and get going. I think without Porzingis, also with Jason Tatum's postseason history, and Jaylen Brown's for that matter, it definitely becomes a concern for the Celtics in the Eastern Conference. If you want to bet another team, no better time than the present. If you want to bet the Philadelphia 76ers, no better time than the present.
They're not beating the Knicks. That series ends tonight.
All right,
it ends on Thursday night.
We'll get into that in a second. But for real, without Porzingis, I don't think any of us really realized how much of a crucial piece to that offense. Definitely on the defensive side, he had made his presence known from day one, but we didn't notice how much of a crucial piece he was to the success and shot making, but also shots received for Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. It's been on full display this entire series, and the Celtics are struggling without it.
Yeah, I agree with that. The Clippers got their doors blown off last night in what could be their final game ever at Crypto.com Arena. I don't know how, in a 2-2 series, the pivotal Game 5 that we always talk, I don't know how you can come out and be that flat. I don't know. I know they don't have Kawhi Leonard, but this is the same team that just went into Dallas and won without Kawhi Leonard. So we know the team is capable. I'm not even saying you can't lose this game at home. You can't get beat by 30 plus and look like you basically quit on this game before it even gets to the fourth quarter. I mean, we'll see what happens in Game 6. They did just win in Dallas. This thing could still go 7. But man, and Luka Doncic, for a guy playing on a bum knee, a bulky knee, as they said, he was something special on Wednesday night.
It was incredible, Jason, to see someone put up what Luka Doncic did on one leg. You could see it during the game. Yeah. On one leg and with one arm. He had his right arm completely taped up as well, to the point where the sleeve was cut off of his t-shirt. It was truly impressive to see Luka Doncic. And yeah, you've got to worry for this Clippers team, because if they can't stop Luka on one leg and one arm, and Kyrie when he has a 6 of 14 night and only deals out 6 assists, how is this LA Clippers team going to stop anybody, or even stop the Dallas Mavericks on an average night? Because truly, they weren't even at their best. They weren't even close to at their best last night. And they just dominated the Clippers. There was no question about it. From the middle of the second quarter, really, when they went on that run, and at halftime, it was over.
And as good as James Harden was in that Game 4 win in Dallas, just non-existent last night. And you just don't know which. Right now, he's kind of at that stage of his career where from one game to the next, especially when you get to this point in the season, you don't know which Harden you're going to get. You can get, 30 and 15 Harden, and you can get what you got last night, which was a Harden that was basically non-existent in this basketball game. It's been a chippy series, too. These two teams do not like each other at all.
It has. I think that Tyronn Lue's comments about Harden after the game spoke a lot to kind of how this whole experiment in LA with the 2016 Western All-Star team has gone wrong. He said when he was asked about James Harden's performance, he said he had an off night, and everyone's allowed to have an off night. The thing is, when you're James Harden and you're put in the position that the Clippers have put him in, you really can't afford to have an off night on May 1st.
Fairly or unfairly.
Right. If it's December 13th, no problem. Have your off night. Sure, go 2 of 12 with 7 points. That's no problem, James. But on May 1st, that's not acceptable. And it, I think, speaks a lot to how the Clippers have kind of blown up, because they put a lot of players in that position.
By the way, in the 10 seconds I have left here, nice job, NBA, admitting that Tyrese Maxey traveled on that 4-point play the other night with the Knicks and Sixers. 2-minute report came out. Nick Ferguson's going to join us in a couple of minutes. Sam will return. Sports Wrap will return as well. Don't go anywhere.
Over 13 million Americans were affected by identity theft in 2022, and the threats go way beyond just credit card fraud. Today's identity thieves can use your information in ways that are easy to miss by just monitoring accounts and credit, like opening loans, transferring home titles, even committing crimes.
Someone got my social security number, made a driver's license, and it was used for criminal activity.
You can do so much with a social security number that I didn't know could happen. They drained my bank account. It was terrifying.
You're even more vulnerable than you realize. Your information is exposed through online shopping, banking, even corporate data breaches. No wonder there's a new victim of identity theft every 3 seconds. Only LifeLock alerts you to the widest volume of threats all in one place, like someone trying to use your social security number, open a new loan in your name, or even commit a crime in your name.
There was a big yes button and there was a big no button. I clicked, "That's not me," and LifeLock took it from there.
If you become a victim of identity theft, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will be assigned to your case and work to fix the issue on your behalf.
If something happens, you have somebody fighting for you.
All LifeLock members are backed by the LifeLock $1 Million Protection Package, including reimbursement for stolen funds, personal expenses, and coverage for lawyers and experts up to $1 million. It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity. With LifeLock, it's easy to help protect yourself.
I will be with LifeLock forever.
Join the millions of people already protected by LifeLock. And for a limited time, save 25% on your first year with promo code 25TV. All plans include a 60-day money-back guarantee.
Call 800-710-7531.
Or visit lifelock.com/25TV to save 25% on your first year of identity theft protection. Enroll now.
Attention families with a loved one in a nursing home. If your loved one has suffered from bed sores, falls, broken bones, dehydration, or even death, you may be entitled to a substantial settlement. If you have a loved one who is injured in a nursing home, we will find out what happened. State violations are found against nursing homes every day. You have a limited time to file your claim, so don't wait. Call 800-398-5999 and speak with one of our attorneys. The call is confidential and free.
We continue with this Thursday edition of Sports Wrap. It's great to have you with us. Coming up in 20 minutes, my man Robert Littal, Black Sports Online. We'll go through some of the top stories of the sports week with him. There's a theme of Ryan Garcia that's going to appear through this show today, which is kind of wild. I want to bring on our man, Nick Ferguson, who does a terrific job. KOA Radio in Denver. The former NFL safety hangs out with us on the program today. I want to do some NFL with you in the next segment because we haven't had a chance to talk since the Broncos draft over the weekend. But you were the first person I thought of when I saw Deion and Shedeur Sanders clapping back at a former Colorado Buffaloes player. And all I could think to myself is, man, is this what Colorado signed up for? Like, did Colorado know it was getting this? That it was getting a coach? I mean, first of all, there's a term called punching down. If this guy is, is as much of a nobody and all of this, or not talented, or whatever you want to say as they're trying to make him out to be, why are you even punching back? Why is your son getting involved? This kid who's potentially going to be a star quarterback in the NFL someday. Why are you, as Deion Sanders, who went 4-8 last year, clapping back at this guy? I don't understand what the point of any of this is. And I have to imagine the folks at Colorado that are watching this are saying, man, all this crap that you come with, you better sure as hell win this year.
Yeah, let's start with the people at Colorado. I mean, you just said it. Before Deion arrived, they were 1-11. No one was really talking about the University of Colorado about anything. The last time we spoke of the University of Colorado is the Hail Mary by Cordell Stewart. So while some may not like this, and I know you don't, Rick
you
Jordan,
do? But wait a minute. You do? You like this?
We're not talking about me. We're not talking about me.
Yes, I am. I have you on the show. You can't like this.
You talking about the people of Colorado, and the people of Colorado love this. You know why? Because you're constantly getting content. People are talking about a team that was 4-8. You want 3 more games than the previous coach.
It's low rent. It is not befitting. It's not befitting of a college institution. It's not befitting of something that wants to consider itself a world-class institution. Come on.
Wait. You've been in this media business for a while.
Yes.
And we both heard the same thing. Even bad publicity is good publicity. And we know that Deion and his sons have done an excellent job of using both good and bad publicity to push things ahead. Now, let's get back to the idea of Shedeur and Coach Prime. Now, I don't like the fact that Shedeur even responded, because when you are doing well and you're on the top of the mountain, people are going to come for you. And based on the level of branding and, I guess, social media content, that puts Shedeur, CU, and his father in a whole echelon opposed to some of the other programs. So what we're seeing playing out are things that typically happen in college programs. The only thing is, social media now is really navigating that path, because when I was in college, things like this would happen all the time. Guys would transfer, there'd be words exchanged, but it just would take place within an organization. And I'll say this, remember Kim Mulkey, right? In that big article, I don't know, it was Washington Post or whoever was supposed to come out, where they had players saying that they were going to bash her because how she treated them. It happens in athletic sports. But because we live in a modern day of technology with social media, more of it is out there. Now, for Shedeur Sanders, for a guy like you said, who is going to be perceived as being a top pick in next year's draft, he should have not said a thing because teams take every little detail.
There's no way an NFL team likes seeing this stuff. It's a maturity issue.
Right. So this is where I don't think he should have done this. But we still live in a world where there is hot back. I got to get my get back. You said something to me, so I'm coming after you. And then Deion Sanders, when he was talking, I think maybe to a father, said, hey, my son's going to be a top pick. Where's your son going to be? Right? It's just like, whoa, hey, look, man, even if you feel that way, let's not do that. Right? Let's not do that. Let's try to keep it civilized. But just like I know, JP, let's not act as we don't know. But this is what happens when you get people feuding against one another. Like there was something with Kamani McLean, who was a prize selection by Deion Sanders. He stole him from the University of Miami. And Kamani McLean was one of the top prospects coming out. He didn't live up to expectations because he didn't really go to class. He didn't work as hard. So Coach Prime has a problem with that because you see a guy with a lot of ability who's not living up to it. So Coach Prime is not one of these coaches that he's going to bite his tongue. He was never that guy. So he's going to say what he's going to say. And now we have several players jumping into the portal. I think like 14 guys are jumping into the portal. But Prime is like, look, man, we good. Because guess what? 14 go out, 14 coming in. That's the idea.
Might be the idea. I don't know if it necessarily leads to success. And it better, Nick. It better if you're going to talk this smack, if you're going to put all this out there, you better walk it. I mean, because I think the leash gets exponentially shorter if you are in the headlines for these reasons and then you can't back it up with wins. I mean, I don't know I haven't looked at their schedule for this year. I don't know what the out-of-conference stuff looks like. Another 4-8 year ain't going to cut it.
Well, listen, you heard Dan Lanning said, hey, look, they play for clicks, we play for wins.
Yes.
Right? So now, basically, you're painting a bullseye on your back, and you're absolutely right. Everyone's going to be gunning for you. And when you falter and you fail and you stumble, everyone's going to jump on your back. So, yes, walk that walk, talk that talk. But Coach Prime, I mean, the idea is the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And I get it. You can't go after my son and don't think I'm going to come after you. You can't go after my pops and don't think I'm going to come after you. It's one of those things. And you look at Coach Prime. I mean, his sons were built in that particular way, right? We want that action, boss. That's that whole idea. So you better put up a shut up or people are really going to come after you.
And then I see him just a few days ago shadow boxing with Ryan Garcia and singing the praises of Ryan Garcia and how wonderful is Ryan Garcia and he loves Jesus. And Ryan Garcia's out of his friggin' mind for anybody who hasn't seen videos of Ryan Garcia. Just Google Ryan Garcia videos and you'll get all you need. And then Ryan Garcia gets busted for steroids. And this is the guy you're singing the praises of, Deion. I'm coming back. We got another segment with Nick. Sam Yarnell's going to join the fray. And Sam's got some splaining to do. Next. All right, we continue on this Thursday edition of Sports Wrap. Robert Littal, Black Sports Online, joins us in about 10 minutes. Go through some of the top stories of the week with him. I'm sure he's got something to say about that Ryan Garcia positive steroid test, as he is a huge boxing guy. So we'll get to that coming up in a few. We invite the one and only Sammy Yarnell to join in the conversation here with Nick Ferguson as well. You know, and just to go back to this Colorado thing, just for 1 second, you know in your heart of hearts this doesn't end well, Nick. You know in your heart of hearts. You're a smart guy.
Everything that has a beginning has an end. I think they said in the movie Matrix. So we get a chance to watch to see what happened. And as I said before, you're going to take your parade and drive around in your car, wave your hand around and said, I told you so. So, I mean, you get a chance to celebrate.
You know the way. You got the wave down. You got the wave down, Pat. So I brought in Sam partly because we're going to embarrass him a little bit. Because yesterday on the show, at the very end of the show, we do a segment called Odds and Ends. And to finish odds and ends, I was talking about the fact that Zach Wilson is not going to get his fifth-year option from the Broncos, who obviously aren't going to want to give him, $22 million or whatever.
$22 million,
yeah, it's a lot of money. And as I said this yesterday, Sam used it as an opportunity to take a shot at Bo Nix. Take a listen and watch. I hope Zach Wilson comes through the other end of this and has an NFL career of some kind.
One thing he will unquestionably be able to do, Jason, is help Bo Nix when we find out Bo Nix is also terrible.
Nick Ferguson's not going to like you for that. Okay.
Well, all
listen.
I can say is
okay. I'm just going to sit back. I have poked the hornet's nest, and now I will just sit back and watch. With a
well, Sam, I'm going to give you the stage first, and then I will have my retort.
Okay, Nick. All right, listen, because I think that this was a little bit misinterpreted.
Backpedaling 101.
Not at all. This is what I meant by it. I don't think Bo Nix is going to be good, and I think everyone's entitled to have their own opinion with that. I do think that adding Zach Wilson was the right move at the end of the day because Zach Wilson's been there. He's been a prospect that's had a lot riding on his career. Bo Nix now has Sean Payton's legacy riding on his career. I think Zach Wilson will help Bo Nix deal with that pressure in the end. That's what I meant by all that. I don't think Bo Nix personally is going to come in and light the world on fire. I don't think anyone did. He's projected as QB 5 on most big boards. He's prospect 19, kind of, sort of. It was a general reach for the Broncos. I don't think anyone would dispute that. I think that Zach Wilson is in a good position to help Bo Nix deal with the mental side of all that pressure that he's going to have to deal with when he inevitably does struggle in what is maybe the hardest division in football right now.
Well, Sam, I will agree with you on this. Zach Wilson can help Bo Nix kind of manage that part of it because he's already gone through it. I guess the one thing for Bo is that he has a coach in Sean Payton who truly believes in him. And obviously we all knew that Sean Payton didn't believe in Russell Wilson, and you could just look at the play calling and you could see that. But for as far as the idea that, hey, Bo Nix was maybe the 19 prospects, the 6th quarterback taken, so that means that he's not going to develop into a great quarterback, I don't believe that. What I do believe is that it takes more than a quarterback to be successful in the NFL. There's so much stock put in the quarterback position by itself, but everyone kind of forgets, wait a minute. I mean, even Joe Montana, as great as he was being undefeated in the Super Bowls, he still had a bevy of talent surrounding him to help him out. So I think it's a little too early to kind of write the final pages on Bo Nix when we haven't really seen him compete on the collegiate level. And let me go back to Zach Wilson for just a second. I think people are really being too negative on Zach Wilson. Yes, he has some mechanical issues coming out of BYU. And should the Jets and Joe Douglas taken him that early? Probably not. But the kid has some ability. But to his credit, I mean, he had Mike LaFleur as his offensive coordinator. So you have a rookie quarterback and a rookie offensive coordinator. Not going to work. And then you had Nathaniel Hackett to come in after that. And you say, well, what did Nathaniel Hackett do in his career? Oh, I'm sorry. He had Aaron Rodgers to run his offense. So even then, that offense wasn't built for Zach Wilson. So I want to see what Zach Wilson can be. And then I give you credit for this because I've said it myself. I mean, what happens with Bo Nix will define the legacy of Sean Payton because he's never drafted and developed a quarterback. His only quarterback that he's had that's done well was Drew Brees. And Drew Brees is a Hall of Fame quarterback, which is why Sean Payton gets that genius title.
I agree. So I agree with a lot of what you said. And I think that this is also something that's being widely overlooked by the fact that the Broncos took Bo Nix as high as they did is they had a really great draft. Troy Franklin is an awesome wide receiver, and to get him at the value they did, I think that'll be a huge addition to a wide receiver room that already has Marvin Mims and Cortland Sutton. The running back, Audric Estime from Notre Dame. I think he's got a lot to learn from Javonte and Samaj. I think that he's kind of a hybrid between those two. He's a guy who can catch the ball out of the backfield and a guy who can run between the tackles. I do think the Broncos had a good draft, and there's a lot of promise. It's just going to be so hard in a division that did nothing but get better in the offseason. And oh, by the way, has the back-to-back defending Super Bowl champions in it.
Well, the idea is that here in Denver, the fans have been clamoring for the team to draft the quarterback of the future. Now they have that guy. The problem is some of the fans are not happy because they wanted J.J. McCarthy. But once again, this is not Burger King, and you can't have it your way. So the idea is just like, listen, you finally got your quarterback. Let's see what the kid can do. Let's put all the support behind him. And you're right. I mean, with Patrick Mahomes in this division, it is tough. And it's been tough for other teams who have veteran quarterbacks to defeat that team. So at this point, the Broncos decided, well, we're going to select our quarterback now. We're going to build around him. We don't expect to be a playoff caliber team right now this year in 2024.
Really? You're already telling your fan base that?
Well, I mean, basically look at the fact that you have young quarterbacks on your roster. And let's be totally honest, this is a decent roster, but this is not one of the best rosters in the division or even a conference. So the idea is that you are drafting for the future and you plan on being better from 2025 and beyond. That's not a bad philosophy because now you're giving your fans not false hope, but real hope.
Nick Ferguson, ladies and gentlemen, the former NFL safety, hanging out with us on the show. That wasn't nearly as dramatic as I thought it was going to be. I was hoping you were going to reach through the camera and go after somebody, but didn't work out that way. Robert Littal is going to join us. Thanks, guys. Robert Littal coming up on the other side. Don't go anywhere. More sports wrap. Glad to have you with us on this Thursday.
Attention families with a loved one in a nursing home. If your loved one has suffered from bed sores, falls, broken bones, dehydration, or even death, you may be entitled to a substantial settlement. If you have a loved one who is injured in a nursing home, we will find out what happened. State violations are found against nursing homes every day. You have a limited time to file your claim, so don't wait. Call 800-398-5999 and speak with one of our attorneys. The call is confidential and free.
The one and only Sports Wrap continues. Good to have you with us on this Thursday. Something to consider coming up in about 10 minutes. And we got a special guest to hang out with us for a couple of segments today. Usually something to consider. It's me and Sam. But today, Robert Littal is going to play in the sandbox.
I love playing in the sandbox.
There you go. Founder of Black Sports Online. Hanging out with us before he heads to Vegas. So what are you going to watch in Vegas this weekend?
Well, we're going to see Canelo Alvarez and Jaime Munguia. Maybe we'll see Canelo versus Oscar De La Hoya the way they were getting into it yesterday.
I saw that. Boxing. Let me tell you, a lot of boxing headlines this week. I mean, it has been a weird week between the Mike Tyson, Jake Paul fight being sanctioned. Now this Ryan Garcia story, which we'll get to in a second, the Alvarez fight this weekend. It's been a fun week for boxing in terms of being in the headlines. All right, speaking of Ryan Garcia, for people who didn't see it, he has been found to have tested positive for steroids before his fight, or performance-enhancing drugs for his fight against Devin Haney, which he won. He didn't win the title. What? Because he didn't make weight? Is that essentially the gist of it? He didn't win the title because he didn't make weight.
If you don't make weight, you cannot fight for the title.
So he can't fight for the title, but he did win the fight by decision. And now it's been found that he tested positive before the fight for steroids. Of course, they didn't know until after the fight that he had tested positive. He took to social media last night on his X, and this was what he said. Take a listen to this incredibly grounded individual you're about to witness.
I came on here to address this bull claim that I cheated.
Lies.
Yeah. Everybody knows that I don't cheat. What can I say? Why didn't they come out with this before, the fight? If they found it before, why would they let me step into the ring as a cheater and then come out with the victory and then they post this, Again, these are people that are trying to attack me for whatever reason, but no weapon against me shall prosper. I never taken steroid. I don't even know where to get steroids at the end of the day. I barely, take supplements. They're saying it's coming from the ashwagandha. So, at the end of the day, big lies. I beat his ass. out of here. Everybody go to Warwick tonight. It's lit.
And I was
Let's
with
get
this
it.
guy every single day, and I never ever saw
The Haney.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Where do we even begin?
Well, the first thing is he's being disingenuous. He knows that if they take a sample on, say, the 1st, it always takes between 10 and 14 days to get the results. The way that we know he's being disingenuous is because he posted a VADA letter early in the promotion showing that he tested negative for steroids that showed that exact same thing, the date that it was collected and the date that the test results, came in. Secondly, to say that everybody knows that he's not a cheater, and then knowing that he said himself that he had decided that he was not going to make the weight, which is essentially cheating. If you have decided that you're not going to make the contractual weight, how do we know that he's not a cheater? How do we know he's never done this before? And also to say that people are against him and this weapon should not prosper again. This is an independent drug testing lab. I'm sure Betty or Maurice, who's doing the testing, is not saying, hey, I hate Ryan Garcia.
Maurice? Wait, hold on a second. Maurice? That's the name Maurice you come up with?
Yeah, Maurice and Betty sprinkled a little something in there because they don't like Ryan Garcia. In fact, the fact that Ryan Garcia makes so much money for the sport of boxing, it is not in boxing's best interest to throw him under the bus.
I agree. But we live in this world where, we get gaslit all the time, and he's going to sit here and do that and try to say what you're seeing with your own eyes. If it doesn't sound familiar, by the way, to stuff happening in the political world.
Well, he even said that, he hung out with Trump, then all of a sudden this came in.
Oh, stuff with him, the video of him shadowboxing with Deion Sanders and Deion just singing his praises. And then a couple days later, he gets busted for PEDs, and you're just sitting there going, oh, my God.
It must be Colorado. It must be people hate Deion, so they want to get Ryan so Colorado can go 6-6 this year.
So what are the long-term implications here if this is all upheld? What does the suspension look like for something like this?
Probably, unless he has a really good, even if he has a good explanation, you're getting 6 months right off the bat. The commissions believe in VADA and believe in the VADA testing. So unless something comes back with a B test that says they were wrong, no matter what explanation he gives, even if it was an accident, he's probably going to get 6 months. If he doesn't have a good explanation, he's looking at a year suspension, a substantial fine as well. So a portion of his purse will be taken away, from him. And the decision will be changed from a win on his record and a loss on Devin Haney's record to either a no contest or a no decision, to where Devin Haney won't have that loss anymore on his record.
The bottom line, though, here, and we got about 45 seconds left in this segment, is we're going to get a rematch between these guys at some point now. We have to, right?
Yeah. Well, it's boxing, and a lot of guys have popped dirty in boxing and has come back in a year, come back in 6 months. And basically nothing ever, happens. You even heard Oscar talk about Canelo, who failed a drug test, before, and he's obviously making $30-40 million, this weekend. So it's not the end of the world. It's not like baseball per se.
Isn't that amazing? So different.
Yeah. But to me, I will say this: you go in the ring, you put your life on the line, and then we've seen guys not come out the ring right after a fight. Yeah. So to me, it should be taken more seriously.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Robert Littal hanging out with us, Black Sports Online. He's going to hang out with us for something to consider. Brittany Griner making some amazing headlines next. Sam Yarnell returns in 10 minutes. We'll have some odds and ends. Wild ending to the Mets game on Thursday, or on Wednesday night, rather, against the Cubs. We'll get into that a bit. Rejoined by Robert Littal, Black Sports Online, before he zooms off to Vegas to go watch the Canelo Alvarez fight this weekend. I want to get your thoughts. Brittany Griner spoke with ABC News and Robin Roberts in this long-awaited interview where she speaks for the first time on her ordeal being imprisoned in Russia. Here's a clip from that interview. One of the things she talked about, and I don't have the clip of it, was her, thinking about taking her own life at one point when she first was incarcerated. But here's a clip with her and Robin Roberts talking about those who might make the argument, hey, you did the crime, and whether the punishment was fair, you did the crime. Here was a piece of that and what she had to say about it.
There are those who say, come on, how did you not know that you had cartridges in your luggage? What do you say to the skeptics?
I would say, have you ever forgot your keys in your car, left your car running? Have you ever, where's my glasses? They're on top of your head. Where's my phone? Oh, it's in my pocket. It's just so easy to have a mental lapse, Granted, my mental lapse was on a more grand scale, but it doesn't take away from how that can happen.
The agents take her passport, boarding pass, ask her to sign a form written in Russian that she says she can't read, and she is left to wait. You said that you felt that you let down yourself, your family, your teams.
Yeah.
So how did you work through that, what you called this guilt that you were feeling?
I don't think I really gotten through all the way. At the end of the day, it's my fault, and I let everybody down.
Wow. Powerful stuff. And look, I'll tell a real quick story on this. I was going to Singapore one time, one of the many visits. My husband and I have a home there. He's from there. And in Singapore, even the slightest bit of weed can be punishable by death if it's too much. They're that strict on drug use in Singapore. Like meth, heroin, all that stuff, automatic death penalty. Like no joke, cocaine, death penalty. And I don't really partake in drug use at all. But I was, a friend of mine as a joke gave me a golf ball, and inside the golf ball, when you opened it up, it was a thing of weed. And it was a gag gift. And somehow when I was moving, I put it into a piece of luggage when I was moving, because I was just packing stuff away, and I put it into a piece of luggage. I got to the airport, and at the very last second before I got on this flight, I realized, oh my God, this thing of weed is sitting in my luggage. And I threw it out before I went through TSA and all that stuff. That could have just as easily been me. I mean, I could have landed in Singapore. Customs could have gone through my stuff in Singapore, and I would have been dead. And that would have been it. So it is that simple to have something like that happen, Robert.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. I thought that anybody that would say that, I think it's a very uncaring, person. I've had scissors. I've had the thing that you open packages with.
Yeah,
a little nice
box cutter. Yeah, a little
box cutter. Somehow it's gotten in the bag because I took it somewhere while I was driving, but I left it in there and I didn't take. So I totally agree with her on that. I think she shouldn't, blame herself. To me, it seemed to me that she was being used because of the election and the political aspect of what was going on at the time. She was a pawn in a much, bigger game. And obviously, with that trade, they got, a lot back. Let's just say that, it was, if that was a trade, that was a couple of first round picks and a player. So I know she probably blames herself, but I don't think that's her fault. I think she just got caught up in something that they saw immediately that they can use for political gain.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see the rest of that conversation with Robin Roberts and what she has to say. And I hope to talk to her one day myself, because I think the whole story is really is just fascinating from beginning to end. And for her, it'll likely never end. You're living through that really the rest of your life. I mean, there has to be.
Like anytime. Like I remember I went to just the county jail for some parking tickets.
Yes.
24 hours.
I went through this. I've been through this.
I think everybody, well, hopefully not everybody.
Oh my God. I got a story to tell about that, but it did happen to me.
I went to the county jail for about 24 hours, maybe a little longer, for some unpaid parking tickets, no insurance, stuff like that. And you're sitting in there and, the first thing you're thinking to yourself is, how do people do this, for years, and the 24 hours feels like a year.
Absolutely.
You're like, I would never, ever, ever, ever want. Now, I still have flashbacks of that.
Real quick, I've only got about 45 seconds. If you are the Lakers, what do you do with this team?
I think you just keep it. They're good enough to beat anybody. They had the Nuggets on the ropes. Maybe get a closer, but beyond that, I think the team is fine.
Yeah, I think you keep the group together. By the way, nice job, Clippers, just laying an egg last night. Huh?
Oh my God, I turned it off in the third quarter.
Do you think they make it back to crypto for a Game 7?
Something, that series so weird. I would not be shocked if they won in Dallas, but I don't think so. But I definitely would not be shocked. Dallas the Clippers have had 30-point leads without Kawhi in 2 games, so it's definitely possible.
Which James Harden shows up? I think that's the question.
Well, I mean, it's James Harden. It's the playoffs. It's like Embiid. We kind of know how that story ends.
We'll see. We'll find out tonight with the Knicks and Sixers. Robert Littal, Black Sports Online. That's his jam. Enjoy Vegas this weekend, my man. Let's talk soon.
All right. I'm hitting the pool. You're going to see his pool body.
We're coming back. All right, just about time to wrap things up on this Thursday edition of the show. If you have not done so yet, make sure to go and check out the vodcast, courtesy of our friends at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, anywhere you get your podcasts. I use Spotify, but wherever you get your podcasts, go and subscribe today. Maybe the show is carried on the weekends where you watch us. Maybe it's only carried on the weekdays. Either way, you can get it every day, the same time. Well, when I decide to upload it, that's when you'll get it. Simple as that. Without any further ado, odds and ends. Odds and ends, Sam Yarnell. Wild ending to the Mets-Cubs game last night. Mets down 1-0, bottom of the ninth, when Pete Alonso is tagging up at third on a fly ball to left field down in the corner. Relay throw gets him at the plate, and the Mets lose. The Mets lose 1-0. At first, it looked like he had got his hand in, but upon further review, I guess he did not get his hand in. I don't know. I saw it. There was a wonder whether or not the catcher was blocking the plate on this play. But he did leave a spot for Alonso to get in there. But Alonso's hand went over the plate. It didn't touch the plate. I don't know. I mean, I looked at the replay. I think he's out.
Yeah, Jason, he's clearly out to me. I don't think that's what the Mets and Met fans were so upset over. What they were so upset over was how the Cubs catcher was set up, and like you alluded to, they thought that he was blocking the plate because of the Buster Posey rule, and obviously you being able to, or major league managers being able to challenge whether a catcher is blocking the plate now, and the enhanced restrictions that we've put on catchers in terms of what they can do when fielding a ball to try and tag a runner out, with the illusion put around it that blocking the plate was always the intention. Obviously, there are a couple of things that go into this, getting into the nitty gritty of it. It's when the catcher has the ball, whether he's making a play on the ball, whether he gives the runner a clear path to the base, whether he's lined up in fair or foul territory. And we could go about all that. But at the end of the day, the fact of the matter is the catcher's foot was on home plate, which at every point when there is a throw being made to you, you have the right to have your foot on the base. If you didn't, how would double plays happen? It would completely negate pretty much turning a double play at second base, let alone when the bases are loaded and you need to come home. The catcher and the first baseman on every play has his foot on the base well before the throw is even made to him. You're allowed to have your foot anywhere on the base. I think that there's a general hatred of Mets fans toward umpires for some reason because they always need somebody to blame. And that's just what they're going after here. And the replay center, at the end of the day, the right call was made. It was not clear to me at all that Alonso was safe. So there's no way you can go against the call on the field that he's out. And the entire thought that the catcher was blocking the plate there, totally grasping at straws.
I give the umpire a lot of credit, by the way, because
he was at a great angle.
He's in a great angle. We love to crush umpires, and we had Dale Scott on that other baseball show with myself and David Ardsma last week. And, Dale Scott was saying, it's easy to sit there and crush umpires, but, 97, 98% of the time when it comes to the strike zone, they get it right. When it comes to these kinds of calls, and as much as we like to sit there and say, well, umpires, stink behind the plate, you can't just look at that. You have to look at their performance in the field. And you had Alonso, whose hand was clearly above the plate at the time he gets tagged by the catcher in that spot. That's a tough call to make in a bang play in the moment. And I thought the umpire did a great job with it. One more
Charlie
thing.
Ramos. Charlie Ramos. Nice shout out to Charlie Ramos.
There you go.
And CB Buckner, if you're out there listening, another horrible call last night. That's neither here nor there.
Thank you very much. Justin Fields, according to Najee Harris, who said he overheard the special. My friend heard from a friend who heard from a friend. They're talking about Justin Fields potentially returning kicks for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. Like it?
I mean, yeah. Let's see. So I guess this may be the baseball player in me coming out, but I've always been of the belief that pitchers are athletes. I think that there's a wide a misconception in baseball that because pitchers only have to play every fifth day or only have to come in for a couple innings at a time, they're not as athletic as every other baseball player on the field. I think that pitchers are very much athletes. I think that quarterbacks are very much athletes, and that may be me, the Josh Allen fan, coming out. But quarterbacks are athletes. Let's let them be athletes and go do whatever they want on the football field.
I'll tell you a funny story. I once, true story, I was a bat boy for the New Haven Ravens minor league baseball team, 1994. AA affiliate of the Colorado Rockies, their first year in the league, because it was right after the Rockies came into Major League Baseball. I was sitting in the outfield shagging flies with a guy a lot of people may have heard of. His name was Armando Benitez. This was before he made it up to the Orioles main roster. And I was shagging flies with Armando Benitez, and he talked about the fact that in the Dominican Republic, you have to be able to play every position, which is why when you see these pitchers that come from the Dominican Republic, they're always so athletic because down there you play everything just to get off the island. Have your best chance to get off the island, you have to be able to play as many positions as possible. So I agree with you. Pitchers are athletes. I was a pitcher, by the way. So I am living proof of it. I mean, look at me. I embody what it means to be an athlete. Thank you to Robert Littal. Thank you to Nick Ferguson. Thanks to you, Sam Yarnell. We'll see you all back here on Friday.